There should be multiple security token exchanges just even in a market like Singapore to deal with all of these assets that are coming on. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I think, to give a couple of numbers, I mean, I would agree with the predominance of private placements. 2017 had $165 billion raised in IPOs and 1.7 trillion raised in private placements. So that's an interesting, in terms of focus and where to look first, those are interesting numbers. In terms of getting the larger institutional investors to participate, I think it's going to take a tremendous amount of collaboration from all the players in the space. We're in a position right now where, we're onto something very, very interesting, but we haven't proven the model yet. We haven't proven the model to those very large institutions that can drop $1 billion check and not break a sweat. And so we need to do that. By the time we do this, we'll have plenty of opportunities to compete amongst ourselves, and eventually some will win and some won't. But until then, having a strong collaboration across all the different players is going to be paramount. Some of the challenges that were mentioned earlier around custody and how custody was getting in the way of broad adoption. I think custody is one of the things that are getting in the way of broader adoption. There's some very simple technology things around experience itself that need to be resolved. Around like if a trade failed, why did it fail? You don't necessarily know, because some chains don't have error messaging, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. I mean, it worked great for utility because it could fail for one of two reasons: run out of gas or insufficient supply. But a security token can fail for tens of reasons based on the trading restrictions that are associated with it. And so there's still quite a bit of work that needs to be done before we can get those larger institutions in place. And I think having a strong collaboration among all the players, rallying around not necessarily one standard, but a smaller list of standards that can be specific to asset classes or have a broader implication across multiple asset classes, but clearly collaborating on an interoperability that eliminates friction amongst ourselves, because once we have that, we can start proving the model and accelerating the pace at which we prove the model. And that, I think, will have a tremendous contribution in everyone's success by empowering or bringing those larger institutions into the fold.
Yeah, I think furthermore, I 100% agree with Julian and Thomas. I think by having these large established institutional players to come in, it actually adds legitimacy to what we're doing. And also it helps to educate the general public about this new type of financing vehicle, a new type of investment product. I think there needs to be a huge effort in telling and letting people know what this is all about, and having the reputable guys to come in to help with that. I think that would really help the case.
So we have people from Hong Kong on the stage. Thomas from Canada, Julian from Singapore. And I guess in Hong Kong, one key question is whether you want to do this in Hong Kong or Singapore. So what's your view? Cyrus?
It sounds like a trap question.
No,
either way, this is on some regulators. But yeah, Hong Kong has been catching up very quickly with the rest of the world. From using virtual banking, from an open banking platform to sandbox regulation to regulate virtual assets. There's not a whole lot of approval around there yet, but at least there's a clear framework now. How quickly it will accelerate against other markets there's yet to see.
Somebody's going to win.
Where do you want to do the business? If you want to do a security token business?
Singapore is definitely ahead.
Reasons?
Singapore government has been trialing blockchain exchanges for years. couple months ago, a consultation paper came out suggesting 2 new tiers to the current exchange model. These 2 new tiers are 100% evolved around blockchain technology and new different levels because they want to attract more liquidity, they want to attract more of the right types of exchanges. So, and Singapore needs and wants the business. It doesn't have China above it. And I think if you look at the history of online investment platforms, myself included, we wanted to set up in Hong Kong and we went to Singapore because the regulatory support there for online P2P, crowdfunding, etc., which never happened here. So I think that again, there should be room, and then hopefully both places take off. I think the difference with the security tokens and all the other stuff that's happened previously is it will be hyper localized because the rules in all the jurisdictions are very, very different. How many shareholders you can have on each company, etc., etc. So I think that yeah, it'd be great if Hong Kong sort of follows a little bit of Singapore's lead, but we'll see.
I see my co-host disagree with that.
I would agree with Julian. You asked me about a few months ago. But being SFC licensed, I need to say the right thing. So, but I think with the recent announcements from SFC, it actually helps move kind of Hong Kong, at least, if not on par, but much closer to where Singapore was. Because I think, especially in this space, clarity on regulation and law is very important. And I think in the past, a lot of people were operating in the dark in some sense because they don't know what they can do and what they can't. I think right now, at least SFC has come out and said they're willing to regulate this in a certain way, and that's actually attracted a lot of interest of people coming into Hong Kong. Just naturally because the capital markets are larger here in Hong Kong and also close to China. So yeah, so now I have to disagree with Julian, but we'll see. I think it's a long-term play. Nobody knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think, sorry, at this moment, I work for Singapore. Yeah, because we are going to launch the Singapore Exchange maybe next few months. And then, but I think, because we looked at growth already, regarding the sandbox and the jurisdiction, what we can do and what we can do. So that I think for exchange business, definitely right now Singapore is more advanced in terms of the timing that they issue the regulation process and also the company that registered in Singapore already. But I think in Hong Kong it may serve another role. For example, it's the issuance, the fundraising, and also some, for example, traditional financial advisor or the license can be or the fund can be worked in Hong Kong. So that I think it works in different purpose in this way maybe. So I'm not sure. But we work for Singapore right now.
Well, yeah, this isn't a regulation. I would say one thing though, I think the securities token exchanges and the securities token market is just reflective. It's the same market. So, you know, it would be strange if Hong Kong didn't stay in the top. New York, London, Singapore, it's going to be the same places. So it might be easier at the moment regulatory-wise in Singapore, but there's still a lot more money here.
It's really a point-in-time question, I would think, right? I mean, we've seen regulators move at different speed, but eventually all move in the same direction. You know, the question that kept coming up across all the conferences that I had a chance to participate in Hong Kong was, we need more clarity from the regulator, we need more clarity from the regulators. Some of it has come around asset management. Obviously the key being exchanges, because without the exchanges you don't really have a proper market. My belief is that the current regulations can be enforced as is by security tokens. You don't necessarily need a change in regulation. What you need is essentially everyone to agree that a security token is a security that just happens to be represented differently, right? I mean, if I give you a share certificate and I PDF that share certificate, is it a new instrument? Not really. It's still a share certificate. Well, now if I tokenize it, is it a new instrument? No, it's still the same thing. In terms of Singapore versus Hong Kong, there's a place for both. There's a market for both. The buy side and the sell side will meet wherever it is the most convenient for them to meet. And so we're at a place right now where this conference happens right after the MAS made an announcement, and most likely just before the SFC does. So point in time wise, you could pick Singapore today and eventually move back to Hong Kong in a couple of months. I think the reality is both marketplaces will be critical to the success of security tokens in Asia, because they're massive financial places.
To quickly connect your current question with the previous one, it's basically still adoption, right? This question is about regulatory adoption. The previous question was institutional players' adoption. As long as you address each player's concerns, then the market can really get going, right? From a regulatory standpoint, I can't really speak on their behalf, but it's quite clear that their primary concerns are twofold. One is AML and counter-terrorist financing. So if you can address that from a security standpoint, from analysis on where those funds came from, that should be okay. The second is the complexity around this whole digitalized asset space. It sounds complex, but they have already set the rule whereby it's now only offerable to accredited investors. So that's one way to mitigate that risk. But through time, if they feel more comfortable, that could be technically opened up. And to address your earlier question, for institutional players, you've got the brokers, which are market makers, you've got the investment bankers, you've got the principals on the buy side. Everyone will be asking different questions, right? From the buy side's perspective, there's no good reason why they don't jump in if the quality of the assets are high and it's not accessible in the traditional markets. Traditional markets being on the main board, on a gem board, or on the OTC bond markets. If you can offer them assets that hasn't been offered before through STOs, then and address their security concerns, and also address the hassle whereby they actually have to hold custody of these tokens through third-party services and whatnot. There's no good reason for them not to adopt. For the service providers, it's the fees and the scale of this market. If the market isn't there, there's no point jumping in because their time is cost. So it's a bit of a chicken and egg. If all parties' concerns can be addressed, then the market would boom.
So moving away from Singapore and Hong Kong, so we knew that China has a huge ban on cryptocurrencies last year, and in past few weeks, there was also news on ban on STO in Beijing, right? So what's your views of China's opinion on STOs going forward? Are they also banning digital securities in China, or is there a complete ban on the overall digital asset? Ricky, you have been working in China for quite a while, right? So what's your view?
First of all, I'm not arrested, so I think no one will be arrested in a very near future. So that's it seems like still okay to do it. But the news is coming from a Beijing local district office. So that I think the government is not saying by the central government that you can't do like STO or anything regarding STO in China. But from the Beijing district government, so that some of them will pull out their political opinions in terms of that. So that's I think it really depends on the regions. But the point is right now I think China is is not going to regulate STO or cryptocurrency at the very soon future. So that if we are going to do a regulatory or a regulated business, I still prefer doing that outside China. Yeah.
I lived in Shanghai and Beijing for about 13 years. So whatever I read about what China says, it's always something different. I think Chinese people have worked out how to skirt every rule around the world forever. They'll continue to. I don't understand how security token offerings would be illegal. It's basically saying security offerings are illegal. It just doesn't make any sense, but that's my take. It's still going to be huge demand from China.
I think just don't mention the word token in China. I think that's sufficient. I was in Guangzhou last week to talk about security tokens, and I was warned and cautioned multiple times.
You're still here.
I'm still here, so I survived. Yeah, you cannot talk about coin and you cannot talk about token, but you can call it digital shares, as Adrian use.
Try and play safe. So the last questions. We have a lot of traditional investors, institutions coming as audience today. I bet a lot of them want to learn about STOs and overall development. What's a piece of advice you would give to the audience in the next 12 months? Do they want to put more time to learn about technologies, how blockchain will interact with security tokens? Any piece of advice for our audience? Maybe starting from Cyrus.
It's definitely worth observing with caution because this is the next. There's not a whole lot of breakthrough in terms of financial services. You got the virtual banks, digital challenger banks. You got peer-to-peer, which it's sanitizing itself after China's peer-to-peer market blew up. And I think this is the next wave of financial service evolution. And it's going to be a long-lasting one. It's simply digitalizing traditional assets, right? But blockchain does facilitate heavily elements of it.
My advice would be to look at security tokens not as a threat, but rather as an opportunity to address some of the compromises that have to be made in traditional investments. Some of the areas that we've been exploring, for instance, is when I do like a syndicated deal, for example, right? So all my investors that are going to come through the different advisors are going to end up with a lead left. The lead left does the KYC for everyone, and then the investments come through. Which means as one of the investors, I have to trust the lead left for not stealing my investments, which is a lot of my value. Can we not use blockchain, for example, to provide some level of zero-knowledge proof to the lead left that, yes, that investor was KYC, yes, the information was shared with the issuer, and that's all you need to know. You don't need to know who that person is. Sure, they may be an investor on your book as well. Great. You still don't need to know who that person is. And so there's a lot of things that can be addressed way beyond liquidity and other aspects of the blockchain in terms of eliminating some of the compromises. And so let's look at security tokens as a transformation, not just around making illiquid assets liquid or assets that are very tough to trade or securitize, tokenized, but as a way to address those, to eliminate those compromises.
The best thing you could probably do is sign up to Investor Crowd. I think the important thing is that the underlying securities. So you need teams of people looking over these, whether they're platforms or people that you know in the industry, making sure that the underlying security is legitimate, and then you have the technology overlay. Reading articles, we've got whole lists of the right articles and podcasts, not ours, just all different types of people's. It's a bit of a journey here. I've been at it for full time for about 12 to 18 months. And it's super exciting. There's also a lot of moving parts, so I think it's just about spending time on it, and then if you really want to go and invest into something, you do exactly what you did before blockchain existed. Like, find out who's running the company. All these things that sound quite funny now, but that wasn't the case in ICO land. So yeah, you're investing into the teams and the long-term projects, and then just get started.
I think it's just like a new way of investment, but still it depends on projects. So just like last few weeks, I received a STO referred by a big VC names. So that actually the return is really good, and the point I question is that why such a good return will be comes to the STO project, and do we need to do any due diligence on the project? So that I think it's still a new way of investment. So that when we go to invest in such kind of STO tokens, we need to have a more understanding on the projects, on the yield, on the structure, do more due diligence. So I think that's more done. So I think maybe a good investment in the future.
I guess I'll use this opportunity to actually give a small plug to an association we're actually building related to security tokens. So we see a lot of people, from people wanting to participate, people wanting to invest in this space in Hong Kong, and because this is actually a much more complicated exercise to perform, and so myself and a few of like-minded individuals in different backgrounds, in legal, in technology, in compliance, in accounting, have decided to come together, actually form a non-profit association called the Asia Security Token Alliance, ASTA. And actually the website I've just told is up, so you can actually go click on it. It's asiasta.com. And the purpose is really to help educate people in the ecosystem, people that want to participate in the ecosystem, or investors or general public, about what security token is, what that means to them, and how to actually execute and do an STO in Hong Kong. So we're going to officially launch very soon, so keep your ears open, but for now this is something that hopefully will become a good resource to everyone who's interested.
So you guys obviously are the smart people coming to this conference to learn about STOs, the fundamentals, but there's a lot of hype around everything new in digital access. Self-promotions for myself as well, and I'm hosting a training course for Hong Kong SI, Hong Kong Security and Investment Institute, which is a licensing exam authority in Hong Kong, and I'm doing a course for any licensed individuals on the topic STOs and blockchain technologies. So if you are interested, just go on Hong Kong SI website. We're proud to have all the speakers today sharing all the opinions on STOs and overall blockchain development. Frankly, with no bias, it's the most comprehensive STO panel or talk I've ever been to. No bias. Thanks all the speakers, and thanks for our audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With every one of you, please stand and take a group photo.